Hey guys, I want to welcome you and let you know how great it is to have you here for the Greater Purpose Podcast.
What's up?
Welcome to the Greater Purpose Podcast from the Cubs room. What do you guys think? Oh, it's incredible. Crazy, isn't it? Yeah. So listen, we have two guests today. This is a very first for the Greater Purpose Podcast. I'm going to tell you in just a minute who these gentlemen are. Before we do that, if my producer was here, he would tell me that I have to make sure I do my due diligence. You can visit bwasap.com. You can see all the podcasts. You can see links to other sites. You can see all kinds of great stuff, including my executive producer is an Avon rep. You know who my executive producer is?
Probably your wife.
My wife, Donna Ward, exactly. She deserves all the kudos. She watches every podcast and critiques every one. So you guys are on call for this. You got to be ready. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so you can go to bwasap.com for all that. I've also been told to make sure you make sure you subscribe, and make sure you share not just this podcast, but the channel and any of the other podcasts that we've done. This will be number 46 in the line of episodes, and we are honored to have two wonderful guests here, Ed Bogle. Right?
Thank you, Bill.
And Gus Anthony.
Thank you for having me,
And so,
Bill.
first of all, this is going to be a little different because initially I just off the bat say, "Tell me who you are." So, who wants to tell them? Who wants to introduce themselves first? Go ahead.
Let's work around the room.
Around the room. Okay, Ed, go ahead. All right, Ed Bogle, tell those folks who you are.
Well, I am Ed Bogle, and I'm a district court judge in Gaston County.
Yep.
Haven't been serving as a district court judge that long. Actually, less than a year. I was appointed. Prior to that, I practiced law in Gaston County for 27 and a half years.
Wow.
About 25 of it was with the gentleman sitting to my left and your right.
Yep.
Isn't that right? I think so.
That would be, yeah.
At any rate, so I've been here and grew up in Belmont and lived here all my life pretty much in Gaston County. Love Gaston County.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm fortunate in the fact that I don't face any challengers, so I'm going to automatically be reelected, for
like
4 more years.
Awesome.
So
and that'll be this November's election, correct? Yep. Good deal. That sounds good.
And coming here, knowing that we're here for a greater purpose, I would tell you that I church, for lack of a better word, using that as a verb. I church at Flint Groves Baptist, and have a lot of really wonderful friends and family over there whom I love. I've always really appreciated the message of the church and its focus on God's Word.
Flint Groves, that's a little bit of a drive for you, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm moving back a little because you're not that short.
Look,
See, folks,
I'm just behind
he's
everyone,
way back
so,
here. We put him in the back, so yeah.
I'll take off my jacket.
So Gus decided to sit way over there. So good. So tell us who Gus Anthony is.
You hear a lot of the same stuff edges.
Good. There you go. Thank you for that. And now on. No, I'm just kidding. No.
But no, like I said, I'm a judge too, district court judge here, and I've just finished my first year in office. Then, like I said, we worked together for close to 25 years.
Yeah.
Had a great run in private practice, a lot of great experiences.
Yeah.
Now through our new jobs, we've been able to meet good people like you, Bill, and do things like this.
Honored to know you guys.
My church, my home church, is Pisgah out in Chapel Grove, Pisgah ARP. I've been out there for 20 years or so, and that's got a lot of good friends. My family was in that, growing up in that church, Gastonia, all my life. Been here, born and bred. So good to be here, helping everybody in Gaston County.
And you have a fur baby who you brought to the polls last year. Go back on my campaign page. I had the opportunity to take a picture with your fur baby. What's your pup's name again? Nikki, that's right. So
she'll be very happy that she got a shout out on the podcast.
It was amazing because she just came right up to me and she was so friendly and everything. So, and I have an older pup as well, Macy. She's old. She's blind and deaf and doesn't come up like that to anybody. So I appreciated that. So that was great. Cool. All right. So now we got to jump into some more detail here.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go with Ed first.
Mm-hmm.
So Ed is going to tell us when did you first realize the importance of becoming a godly man? Now, like we say on the podcast, we've not arrived. We know that. Nobody's pretending like we've attained.
But you know, but just to answer the question, I mean, as a child, having grown up in church, as a child, having you read God's Word, having, constantly been exposed to, God's Word and godly people, godly men.
Yeah.
You realize as a child that's where you need to be.
Yeah.
Do you struggle with it when you're a teenager and a young man? Certainly. But that recognition, I think I had that when I was a child.
Cool. Early on. So how about Gus?
Well, I mean, I grew up in the church, and my parents were very dedicated to having us at church, and I didn't really realize what it had done for me. It took me a while. I had to get a little older before I really appreciated what that did for me, and I saw what happened to the people that did not have the benefit of growing up in a home like that. Having that. I always considered it kind of a baseline,
Sure.
I'd been told what was right and wrong.
Sure.
Whether I chose to obey that.
Right.
I struggled with that a little bit as a teenager. But I knew where the line was, and that having that foundation that was given to me by growing up in the church, kept my life on a good trajectory to put me where I am now. So that's, like I said, it took me until I got in my probably late 20s or so, or even in my 30s, to really appreciate what it was. But,
I think we all meander.
That's exactly right.
So,
unfortunately.
But you had the foundation, and the foundation is always important, obviously, scripturally. So cool. All right, so we'll start with Gus on this one. So who's been your biggest inspiration? If you had to pick one person, who's been your biggest inspiration as far as becoming a godly person, a godly man?
Well, I had a preacher when I was in high school, and again, like I said, I stepped over the line a couple times. But he was always
truth's coming out now.
He was always there to talk to me. That was my counsel. Whenever my parents would always send me his name was Zeb Williams. He was our preacher.
Ed Williams, okay.
Zeb.
Oh, Zeb. I'm sorry, Zeb. Sorry.
And he was always there. Mom and Dad would send me to talk to Zeb. I'd go to the church and sit down, and he would correct me without being judgmental.
Yeah.
Would tell me what I was doing wrong and what I needed to do. But it was just a very, it wasn't like him just in my face like this.
Not slamming you, right? Yeah.
And I always appreciated that.
Yeah.
It was somebody that wasn't charged with disciplining me.
Yeah.
That was able to guide me and give me some correction when I needed it. And I always appreciated that.
Right. Well, and that is the importance. That is something we try to stress here, is that these men that have built into our lives, or women in some cases have built into our lives, the harvest comes later. They're planting, they're sowing, they're watering, they're doing all that, and then what comes out of that is a man who understands he needs to be godly. So how about you? Who's been your biggest inspiration?
My father, my dad. My dad actually, in his later years, in fact, until somewhat recent, he pastored a church for like 22 years.
Oh, PK, huh?
Yeah, small. Well, I wasn't when I grew up.
Oh, okay.
He did that later.
Okay.
But he was always a follower of the Lord, and always a teacher and so forth. So yeah, he when he was as he got older and retired from his job building houses.
Yeah.
He
so he
just
was
felt call,
oh,
and
cool.
so there was a small flock, and he led them for many years.
Nice.
And so with Dad, always being grounded in God's Word, and it was just a lot of fun.
Nice.
In terms. So there were some good discussions.
I bet.
For sure.
Deep ones, right?
Yes, that's right.
Cool. Very neat. Okay. All right. So how about how do you feel like you're most effective in taking what you've learned, the inspiration you've been given, the path that you've been trying to follow after you meandered? How do you think you've taken all of that, and how do you think you've best applied that to other men, women, specifically men or boys, but men in your courtroom, let's say, or in your community, your church, your life? How do you think you've been best applied your inspiration to change other lives?
Is that Ed or Gus first?
Either way.
Yeah.
He was ready to jump. Oh, I thought you were ready. Go ahead, Ed.
Well, Bill, it's funny when as you began that question, one of the things that my mind went to is, as a judge and sitting in court, people's perception of you is probably, really, to be honest with you, it's very difficult for me to fully, to in any way kind of understand what people are thinking.
Right.
And, and obviously in the role in the court systems and whatnot, we seek to display our faith without, wordly examples of it.
Right.
But the biggest thing I think that, our faith calls us to do, and Gus and I have talked about this a lot, so this is, I'm stealing an answer from him. Treat people with fairness and respect.
Right.
People remember how they are treated.
Yeah.
And when we were lawyers, we remember hearing, lawyers complain about how they were treated by, judges. Litigants complaining about that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we have to do is we have to rule against people. We don't have to do it disrespectfully.
Right. Well, and this part is fairly new for you guys.
It is, but
not brand new, but new enough where you're probably still making adjustments, I would assume.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
and that part of it. But we were fortunate, I think, in that having practiced law so long, all the problems that were there in front of us we had pretty much seen.
Okay.
I mean, there's always something that new that pops up periodically, but that was a big thing for us.
So you feel like that gives you because you've been on that side of the not desk, what's it called, the
other way, the bench.
the bench, the other side.
Yeah.
Since you've been on that other side of the bench, I guess that probably gives you a little more.
It does, and it's having listened to clients
Sure.
and knowing what people think. So
Right.
and I guess, and when you ask me that question, knowing that you're answering it by asking it in terms of our faith, not to let the cat out of the bag, but it kind of looks back at one of my favorite Old Testament verses, which is so applicable to lawyers and judges, which is Micah 6:8.
Okay.
When we're talking about how we're going to live, we're going to live justly, we're going to live being fair.
Right.
We're going to show mercy because we have forgiveness in our hearts.
Yeah,
and
nice.
we're going to walk humbly.
There you go.
And so those are the kind of things I think that and Gus and I've had these discussions that we had always said that if we were ever on the bench, we would try to do.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Well, so we talk about the influences and the inspirations and stuff, and we're talking about other people being. But from what I know about you guys being not lifelong friends, but 27 years or whatever, so you guys are really inspiring each other on a daily basis, really, to walk.
when we worked together, we had a greater opportunity because it was just the two of us.
Right? Yeah.
But now, it's kind of like if Gus and I are talking, it's a magnet for anyone else to come, which is a good thing. I mean, you don't shy away from that. You always want to talk with all your coworkers.
Yeah.
But it is kind of funny that we don't, have as many like one-on-one conversations as we used to.
Yeah.
And
but you've inspired each other over the years.
Certainly.
Sure.
Pushed
Certainly.
each other along,
Yeah.
challenged each other, that kind of thing. Cool.
Oh yeah.
How about you? Do you want to expand on that any or?
Well, one of the things that Ed was a big part of this for years. Just in addition to what he said, we've had an opportunity through him being the guardian ad litem attorney advocate, and now as I've transitioned to the bench, I work in that court with the juvenile court,
Juvenile and veterans court.
And you see these kids, in just terrible situations, and it's an opportunity, where you try to reach out to them, make a connection with them,
Sure.
and try to say something that's going to get their attention. But you do that by, you can't scream at them. You gotta, as soon as you start screaming at them, they're going to quit listening
Right.
to you.
They're done. They're shutting you down. Yeah.
And we've had the benefit of that. We've seen people for our whole career in the worst situations they can be in. We've learned how to talk them through it and try to calm them down, and that's a big benefit.
Put them on the right course. But Gus is right. You can do that a little bit, but man, when we were in private practice, you could do that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing prohibiting you from just.
Yeah.
Having a real word of prayer with somebody.
Now you have some. Now you have some of those.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about witnessing to a big degree when
Sure.
they're coming into your office. So I mean, there were people that we definitely had effects on then. That we gave Bibles to, purchased Bibles for, those kind of things. And but I mean, the Gus is exactly right. Though now although limited in our influence, with the things like the kids and so forth, you never know. when you're planting good seeds, you know, they're going to come.
Because your decisions are literally going to change their life. I mean, no matter what.
Hopefully for
Good,
the
bad,
better.
or
Hopefully for the better. That's
hopefully
exactly.
for the better. Yes, yeah. That's what. Yeah, we do hope for that. So, so guys, so listen, folks, we have some awesome Christian men out here serving, especially in Gaston County. Travis Page has been here on the podcast. Craig Collins is a good friend of all of ours, and we know the stories he's been able to share. I know there's only so many things you can share, but if it's public record, it's public record. But so many things that have been shared by these guys through our conversations or on the podcast, and some of the great things that you guys are doing. It's not just a guy sitting behind the bench hitting the gavel and sending somebody off to the pokey. We don't call it the pokey
that's
anymore, right? But you guys are actually attempting to help them through whatever rough, difficult walk they've been through. So that's an inspiration to all of us, I think, to everybody out there. So now this is going to be the hard part, because then we go on to some topical things here. So you can, like, we're going to just like throw this out. Get back over here. Gus is trying to lean over. That's why that door is bending right there, to make you stay over here. No, I'm kidding. The door.
You can have the middle seat if that one's uncomfortable.
Folks, you can't see the door. You can't see the side over here, but that door has, for some reason, warped just in the last week, since I was in here just last week. But anyway, and Gus has to stay. I can change that, right? I could just do this. There you go.
Boy.
There you go.
Now you got him. Oh, wow.
So listen, we don't want to put anybody on the spot here, but we do. No, I'm just kidding. So you can listen. This can be real easy. You can pick 5 men. You've already mentioned one each. 5 men or women who inspired you. You can pick 5 heroes of the faith. They could be biblical. They can be current. They could be recent past, etc., etc. You can name some scriptures, books.
What about a mixture of all?
You can
of it?
mix it up. We listen.
right.
So let me give you the history of that, because we used to call it the Fast Five.
Yeah.
And I scratched that. You guys can't see this, but back there I scratched
I
that
can't
out
because I don't own my glasses.
because my executive producer, my wife, said stop making it the Fast Five, because sometimes you guys have more to talk about and share, and we felt like it was boom, 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 boom. We don't want to do that. So that's why, and then we got away with just honing in on one thing. We said, okay, any of those topics that you want to touch on quickly, or if you want to elaborate, however you feel comfortable. And either one of you can start. No dead space time, though. Gus was going to go. He wants to follow up, it sounds like, right? So go ahead.
That's fine. In terms of Old Testament hero, I really like Abraham.
Yeah.
Abraham's faith is astounding to me.
Amazing.
And the entire story, and just the weight that was present, in their lives before Isaac was conceived.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, whenever I processed that, I think I probably would have given up. Sadly, I mean, I just, so I admire that.
Going somewhere and not being told where.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
the faith that he had to have. Now he did mess up a couple times, but that's okay.
Yeah,
He still was redeemed. So yeah.
And another one of my, kind of neat heroes is a heroine in the Old Testament, which is Ruth.
Okay.
Because I think of Ruth, kind of being a transplant into, a whole new family, a whole new culture. Yep. And so many times in America, we welcome, people into our church and into our families, we're completely different, but yet what unites us is the fact that we're following the same God.
Yeah.
And we have the same faith.
Yep.
So that's kind of a neat, in terms of that, I'm a Ruth fan.
Yep.
I think favorite Psalms or Proverbs, obviously, like Psalm 51, where David has to confess his sins. I believe that's right.
Yeah.
And then I told you my Old Testament verse, which is Micah 6:8.
Yep.
In New Testament, though, I really love 1 Peter 4:8, which says, "For above all love, for it covers a multitude of sins."
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of write books on that one verse alone if you really want to get deep into it. But, for me, I think when if we can, and this is so difficult in our lives, I mean, with what we live through every day, and just having to go out there and people cutting us off in traffic or whatnot, but to be able to love like Christ, It'll keep you out of a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
Keep a lot of sins away. Covers them, gets rid of them, that kind of thing.
It's
So,
hard. It's hard to do, but great to remember.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
By the way, Ed is a Sunday school teacher, right?
Yeah, I do. I teach an adult class.
Yep,
So yeah.
yep.
I
So
guess
there you
I
go.
have
He's got that. He's got that going on. So yeah, absolutely cool.
You're
There
about
you go.
to see that I'm not.
Well, listen, this is so. It's really weird because I'm not either. I actually have. I'm going to change that just a little bit. Gus.
Oh, okay. I'll keep moving around on you, man.
No, it's not you. It's just.
Should I shift over here
Gus,
closer?
I didn't want to make
more uncomfortable.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want Gus to be uncomfortable.
Oh.
So I had that discussion with Shannon Williams when he was in here. I am not a quoter. I cannot just tell you off the top of my head, but. And people say, well, you should be able to remember this. You should be able, and it doesn't work for me. I think I did something to
Kind of
my
like
brain when I was younger.
that's kind of according to people's brains how they
Right,
work, and
right.
you know. And I mean,
Well, but people say, well, you know how many home runs Ryan Sandberg hit in 1984, and I say, no, I don't. I really don't.
There you go.
I don't remember stuff like that. I just don't. But I do remember the story. I can tell you the story, and then I can go to the scripture and search it out. So anyway, I can't do what you just did, but so I think I'm pretty impressed with that. So now Gus is going to impress me more by doing what? No, which
I'll dance.
oh, that'll be good. Let's see that. Listen, Chip Harrison was in here last week. We
He
tried
can
to
tell you
get him
about
to
his
dance. He wouldn't
dancing.
do it.
He
There's
refused. Probably room
He
for it,
refused
though,
to
in
dance.
in
We
his
could have cleared it
defense, I
out.
mean,
You
you know.
could-
Yeah.
Gus Anthony dancing on the Greater Purpose podcast.
That would
No,
get-
never mind.
That would either get you a lot of subscribers or kill you.
The end, the last one. The final. This will be
The
the
Cubs
final
cards
episode,
may not
right?
survive that.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do? 5 inspirations, 5
Well,
heroes.
yeah, I'll try. I'll take a swing at this. As far as I'm gonna speak in broader terms. The Old Testament, any of the old leaders of the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've always, and I did teach Sunday school for a while back in the day, but I taught 12-year-olds.
Yeah,
This is great.
But one of the things I always used to hit them with is like, what would you do if you heard a voice telling you to, go get these people and take them out in the desert for 40 years.
That's right.
Or quit work, quit your job, and go follow this guy named Jesus around.
Yeah.
Just I was like, how would you react to something
Right.
like, just the faith they had.
Sure.
Like a Moses or Abraham or even Noah. Build the ark.
Sure.
Just things like that. The
100
faith
years,
they,
right?
Yeah.
So
the faith they had, that always, and then of course with the New Testament, any of the disciples, again for that same reason, the fact that they just accepted their call,
right.
And followed Jesus without hesitation, or without a lot of, but
A lot of faith. They had
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
faith in what he was doing and saying and teaching. So yeah.
no. And as we become now that I hate to use the P word, but now that we are politicians, that we are elected officials,
Yeah.
there's one of the disciples, James. There's some stuff in James that resonates a little bit with me. One passage in particular, the faith without works is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but, as I see all the other politicians around the world, and just kind of resonates with me when I see how some of them act.
Yeah.
It's just, talk the talk but don't walk the walk kind of thing, and
Right.
and hope they'll do better. But so that kind of resonates with me now,
Yeah.
and kind of hopefully guides me to do better.
Nice. Cool.
But as far as just individual inspirations, I mentioned my preacher, but my mom and dad, they were always very, just like Ed's father, but they were inspired me for different reasons. They both had a myriad of health problems. My dad had polio when he was 16
Yeah.
years old.
Hmm.
He was a survivor, and he still walked and had a very full and productive life. But he never could run. Never could do. He had just enough leg muscle to get around, but. I didn't realize he even had a problem until I was like 16 years old.
Wow. Yeah. It was just normal, right?
And my mom, same way. And they never complained. They just kept on doing what they were doing, took
Wow.
care of us, and stayed after me, didn't let me get too far into the hole, kept pulling me back up out. And,
He's been talking about that a lot, the meandering and the...
Oh, he exaggerates. He exaggerates.
yeah. But No, but I mean, like I said, it was very popular back in my high school days for, parents to go other directions with their children.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And my parents stayed the course. They kept me in church, kept drilling the Christian message into me, and wouldn't let me go.
Yeah.
And and it really paid off. Huge dividends as I got older. I was able to work my way back into their good graces and become best friends with them as I got older.
Nice.
But I always admired them, the way they handled just simply their physical limitations, and never laid that on anybody. Just dealt with it and went on and did their thing.
Great example. That's a great example. Pretty cool. Yeah, I always admire individuals who have. We've all gone through struggles, but I mean, people who have lifelong struggles. And really, unless you pin them on it, they don't, like you said, they don't lay it on other people. They just continue to pursue. That's pretty cool. Awesome stuff. Cool. Very nice. See, that worked out very well. I'm very impressed. We have little discussions before the podcast, so we won't tell you that, but it worked out really neat. Since this is different, by the way, the audio is going to be different on this, so we're going to try to boost it up a little bit. We're not using the microphones like we normally do because there are only 2 microphones and there are 3 people. So hopefully that's not too big of an issue. If you noticed that on the podcast, then you'll know that's why. So now we jump into, before we go into well, it's all been fun, but before we go into the more lighthearted part about a sports story, you can be thinking about that. But before you give the sports story, I have to give you your parting gifts. Do you know that you get parting gifts?
Wow.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that.
You did, yeah. You've already heard. So I've never done 2 before. But your first parting gift is a bottle of hand sanitizer with Mr. Bill's STEM education and Bill Ward photography.
Oh,
very valuable stuff right there, right?
The best of Gaston.
And there you go. Yeah, that's right. Hey, best of Gaston. Thank you. Remember that. Also, you will each receive an autographed Willie Ace official Chicago Cubs baseball card. Yes, that's me. And it's really me. I know, how silly, right?
That is awesome.
I will autograph those, and we'll put number 40. Oh, you'll have the same number on both of them. Number 40, what did I say, 46? Yeah. Put number 46 on those so that you knew your podcast number 46. And those will go with you. And the most exciting part of all, you get to choose a Lego superhero. And let me show you my Lego superhero. And you say, why a Lego superhero?
Wow, Lego superhero.
Perfect, that's good. Good job.
Right.
I had to nod my head a little.
Wow,
And
Lego superhero.
And the reason is because, first of all, STEM, here, see? Science, technology, engineering, and math. So the engineering, you have to build the Lego superhero. That's the engineering part. But because also we feel like the men that come through the Greater Purpose podcast are superheroes. So we want to make sure they have something to remind them of that. So you get to choose. Look, I got the whole box full.
See a Batman in there.
Is Batman? Did you see Batman?
Is that a Batman? Who is that?
It might be. That is actually that is. Looks like Fu Manchu. I'm not sure. Gosh, I can't think of his name. He was on Doctor Strange, though, I think.
Oh, I know who he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then purple. Who's the purple guy? I guess I better
Yes,
look.
he was on Doctor Strange as well.
Oh, that looks like an Iron Man mask, but it's purple.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
That's Mrs. Iron Man.
Well, it doesn't look like her in real person.
There's Loki. Oh, he's a bad guy. There's Loki. There's golly, I don't know. I've never seen half of these before. I don't know. I used to get all the ones that had Captain America and Thor and all that. I don't know. They sent me some weird.
A random one. That looks good. I'll take that.
Okay.
Oh, that's Falcon.
Yeah, there you go. Got the Falcon.
He's flying around.
You're gonna hold on to him.
I'm a
So he was on Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
He was his sidekick there. Can't think of the guy's name. The Asian guy.
Random task.
Who? Okay, good. So you got your superhero, you got your parting gifts. Now, you want to give us, each of you give us an individual sports story, or you just want to give us, what do you think, Gus?
Got a sports story, Gus?
Can be funny, interesting, serious.
He's got some neat stuff.
Go ahead, Gus. What do you got?
Wow, it's tough. Favorite sports story.
Okay.
I guess the sentimental favorite, I'll go with that. We grew up in my house where we were always Green Bay Packer fans.
Ooh.
And
sorry we beat you this week.
Yeah.
I'm a 49ers fan.
And so we had this running deal. Yeah, we always, the frozen tundra game back in the 60s
Sure.
between the
Oh,
Cowboys and
yeah.
that was always
Football,
And
yeah.
so we always had this kind of whisper deal where if they ever played the NFC Championship game at Lambeau Field again, we would go.
Oh, wow.
And lo and behold, in '96,
Yeah.
Panthers make it to the championship game. They're playing in Green Bay, and my dad wasn't able to go with us, but I took my mom up there. Me and Mom went to Green Bay.
Wow. Nice.
Sat out there. It was 0 degrees when they kicked off that day.
Woo.
We sat out there in the cold.
For a
watched
North
Green Bay.
Carolina boy, that's a little
And
cold.
the paper, the Gazette came out and did a big article about us going up there.
Oh,
and
cool.
we rode up there, with, of course, with all the Carolina fans on the plane.
Sure.
And everybody, it was just a lot of fun. Everybody was really good sport about it. And,
Lambeau Field.
yeah. And we got a brick in the stadium now with our name
Oh,
commemorating that. So it was,
there you go.
That's
nice. That's
short.
pretty cool.
Because as you can probably look at me, you tell by looking at me, my sports career ended very early in my life.
That was Favre who was quarterback.
Yeah, it was Brett Favre.
Brett Favre. Yep. So a cheesehead. So he's a cheesehead.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Now we know he's a cheesehead.
I almost left while Aaron Rodgers were there, but now he's gone, so I can pull for him again.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm not judging. So I'm a lifelong Cubs fan. Doesn't matter how bad they are, who's terrible, whatever. Yeah. So I get it. But I get it. So, how about you? You got one for us?
You know, it was
I like
I was hoping Gus would tell that story. That was always one of my favorites that he had. But I was thinking about like all line and the different things and different funny sports stories and what. But one of the ones that came to my mind is being that I have 4 boys. You know, the oldest ones are already on their way, and they had one another to compete against. So they were never really behind when it came to playing ball or any of those things. They could hold their own, and all of them had some good moments in sports. Well, my youngest Henry, they were like, well, son, you need, his younger brother was trying to encourage him to go play baseball, and we were doing that. He just didn't take to it, Bill. He had a tough time.
Yeah.
And when he was playing at 10 years old, we had him in this little rec league, and not having played much, and really not even showing the big desire to be a ball player. Right. But it was at some point he'd realized that he was getting embarrassed by his friends.
Oh no!
And so he decided to put a little work into it. It turns out, he has some talent, still does, and so. He came up to bat, and he was playing against the team that had some of the neighborhood kids on it, and one was pitching and one was catching. And so they were up there, and the poor little boy, Henry, of course, had been had more than one strikeout that year. And I think that they had 2 strikes on him, and the little catcher that knew him was like, Drew's going to strike you out, Henry. You're going to get embarrassed again.
Oh, man.
And apparently I didn't realize this, but after he goes, not today, Isaac.
Oh, wow.
Not today. And he hit it over the left field.
Oh, nice. Hey, that's cool. I like that
So
one.
that was a fun story.
And I bet he tells that story still today.
He probably will when he gets older, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll remember it even more glamorously than his dad does.
Nice. I like it. That's pretty cool. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, guys, listen, I really appreciate you being here. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, all that good stuff. We've got some great guys that come through here sharing their inspiration, their encouragement, their motivation. We hope you've been inspired, motivated as well. By the way, we have a men's conference coming up April 27th, the Greater Purpose of a Godly Man men's conference, and one of our speakers is here today. Ed Bogle is going to speak for us. Got a great lineup of individuals there, so check that out. Facebook, YouTube, everything else, right? All right, guys, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Ed,
Bill.
thanks for being here.
Thanks,
Ed,
Bill.
and
Thanks,
Gus,
guys.
appreciate you guys.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
a lot. God bless.